31st weekly live stream. I'm so glad you could be here joining me for it. Hope you had a good week.
When I was a little feller, ping pong table in the cellar, every night just after dinner, he used to let me be the winner. The ones that could get over the net, he'd pretend like he could not get. Deliberately he hit them wide, but only barely missed the sides. Everything he'd hit real soft, he could turn it on and off. But just to show me that he could, he'd almost hit one through the wood. My dad, he was a champion. Me, I was his only son. He taught me everything he knew, and I've shown him a thing or two. He played the ball with lots of spin, taught me how to serve like him. I was 11, maybe 10, starting to play a little better then. Then I started talking trash. Finally he met his match. 16, maybe 17, taut as the net that was between us. He'd slam one and I'd slam one, and he'd slam one and I'd slam one, and he'd slam another and I'd slam another. Back and forth attacking each other. It was spin and counter spin. Neither could let the other win. Things would never be the same when I learned to beat him at his game. Now we play like gentlemen, volley back and forth again. Neither of us keeping score, we don't need to anymore. Now I don't want to slam it all, don't want him to have to chase the ball. Let's just keep this thing in play, that's the whole point anyway.
That's called The Point. As always, my live streams are free if you need them to be. And if you're in a position where you can afford to pay something, your tips and your donations are greatly appreciated. This is my sole means of making a living for the time being. And your generosity and thoughtfulness is what's keeping me alive. If you're interested in tipping today, here are several ways that you can do it. There's Venmo, there's PayPal, there's Cash App. If you're interested in picking up digital downloads of my music, you can go to Bandcamp and you can pay whatever price you'd like to pay. If you're interested in actual CDs, you can get them from chuckbrodsky.com. And I'll talk more about patreon.com a little bit later. Here's a song that I wrote many years ago after seeing a photograph in my hometown newspaper, the Asheville Citizen-Times. This would have been about 25 years ago, and it was a photograph of a political rally. And somebody was holding up a sign that said, "Thank God for AIDS."
We worship our gods, and we buy souvenirs, admire our trinkets in front of our mirrors. A hat with a cross, a shirt with a star, the names of our teams tattooed on our arms. We're given our gods at the moment of birth, the gods of our fathers and all others be cursed. At the earliest age, we memorize verse, a gospel as it is written. We swear at our gods, we curse our rotten luck from the side of the road when we self-destruct. We ask them to save us and to get us unstuck from the muck we get ourselves into. Temples of stained glass and hand-cut stones, we built for our gods such magnificent homes. We visit sometimes, but we don't stay long. No
when the football games are on.
We make deals with our gods to win back what we've lost. But in our pants pockets,
Our fingers are crossed.
Lord, give us this day, make these prosperous times,
And help us to cover our crimes.
we go to the seers, we say, show us the script that our gods have left for us, stashed in some crypt.
Oh, secrets, they say, what has never been told. Yours for a pile of your gold.
We kill for our gods, we wage holy wars, assassinate presidents and burn down bookstores. We massacre children to settle old scores,
Yelling,
our gods are great. So our gods must be proud of the blood on our hands, in the way we go conquering far, far away lands. In the names of our gods, let the glory be theirs. Just let the spoils and the plunders be ours. We serve our gods in such humorless ways. Rituals we do, laws we obey. Well, sometimes in between we pray. But how often do we say, I love you? I love you. I love you.
I don't know if you caught that slick little trick I pulled in the middle of that song when I dropped my pick, and I reached for another one in mid-song and didn't miss a beat, I don't think. So, I'd love to know where you're watching from today. And I'd also love to know any requests that you might have for future shows. Here's a song called The Boys in the Back Room.
The boys in the back room, they didn't like attention, drawn to their activities, which the paper never mentioned. Thanks to the editor, who was a good old friend of theirs. So was the police chief, and also the developers. Boys in the back room, they went golfing every Sunday. They had a game of pinochle that happened every Monday. Tuesdays were the meetings where the public was invited, where they went through all the motions, but no wrongs were ever righted. The boys in the back room on Wednesdays traded favors. They had a secret handshake and other such behavior. They fixed traffic tickets, granted exemptions and waivers, awarded city contracts to associates and neighbors. They were desperate to hold on, assassinating characters of whoever might have told on them. But the day did finally come when they stood before the jury. Some guy sent to prison. It was a one-paragraph story. The boys in the back room who just used to make the rules any way they wanted to. They thought that they still had the people fooled.
So, here's a baseball song for you. It's one of my new ones. I just recorded it a couple of weeks ago. I hope to have a new CD out sometime. Oh, who knows? Maybe when things get back to normal and I can get back out on the road again. We'll see. But this song is called Cup of Coffee, and it's about a fella who was a career minor league pitcher and who, at the age of 31, got called up to the major leagues for a spot start with the Philadelphia Phillies. One of the Phillies' starting pitchers had a sore arm and couldn't make his next start. So they called this fella up, and this is what happened that day.
There was orange on the radar. In some places it was red. He saw it on the TV. Well, he was still in bed. Room service brought him breakfast, some good coffee as well. And he could get used to staying at a major league hotel. Well, it was raining hard that morning. The whole day it would pour. And he would just stare out the window from the 27th floor. The night before at supper, some joint in Buffalo, the skipper called to tell him that he was going to the show. Text messages and emails lighting up his phone from all his friends and family, from everyone he'd ever known. His folks flew in from Boston, and his wife just made her flight. They all got there the next day to see him pitch that night. And so he put his big league pants on, and he tied his big league shoes, while a couple of big leaguers giving interviews. His name was in the lineup, and he was mentioned on the news. He'd knocked around a dozen years for this. He'd even pitched in Veracruz. And so he walked out through that tunnel to stand on a big league mound. His tears mixed with the raindrops, and he felt like he might drown. He squeezed a big league baseball, ran his fingers along the seams. The rain was cruel and stung him as it washed away his dreams. And it was flooded in the dugout. It was a lonely place to sit. He thought of going to Korea, or maybe it was time to quit. And now next time they need a pitcher, they'll probably call up some kid. And every time thereafter, well, that's exactly what they did. Well, that tarp was never lifted, that storm never let up. It's like he got his cup of coffee without the coffee cup. But let him keep his jersey, and it boxed it soaking wet. And that was as close to the majors as he would ever get. Well, now you can say that's baseball, especially if you never played. But for the guy who worked his ass off and whose dues were overpaid, well, this was all he'd ever wanted ever since the 7th grade. Congratulations were in order, but condolences were paid. No, that tarp was never lifted, and that storm never let up. It's like he got his cup of coffee without the coffee cup.
I want to show you something here. This is a list of all the different teams that Brian Mazzone played for. He switched teams, I think, 21 different times, if I'm not mistaken. Played in 5 different countries. And here is an autographed Lehigh Valley Iron Pigs cap from Brian Mazzone. I knew his aunt, and she was nice enough to get that for me. I met him once down at spring training. I was looking out for him when I found out he was in the Phillies organization and got to say hi. So, this is a song about something that I will never eat. I hope you never will either.
They call it chicken, but what do I know? Who's to say that it isn't so? Over on Madison Avenue, they call it chicken, but it might be true. They call it chicken, it grows in a dish. Tweak it a little, you can call it fish. Try telling this to the man on the street, how all they're growing is chicken meat. They call it chicken, but it's not a bird. Tastes just like chicken, that's what I heard. But I can't confirm and I can't deny. I'd be too chicken to give it a try. But it doesn't cluck. Got no feathers that you need to pluck. Got no neck and it's got no wings. No beak, no bones, none of those things. From chicken eggs it doesn't hatch. Oh, it doesn't peck and it doesn't scratch. It doesn't require chicken coop or someone to clean up the chicken poop. They call it chicken, but it's not a bird. It's just just like chicken, that's what I heard. Well, you can make it look like a breast or a thigh, but I'll be too chicken to give it a try. Well, you can call it chicken, and it might be. One day maybe it'll grow on a tree. We'll have to hire a chicken picking crew until they figure out how to replace them too. They call it chicken, but the foxes hate it. The roosters are just real frustrated. You can call it chicken, the law's with you, but it doesn't have sex like chickens do. They call it chicken, but it's not a bird. Tastes just like chicken, that's what I heard. It's as American as apple pie. Well, I'll be too chicken to give it a try. They call it chicken, but what do I know? Who's to say that it isn't so?
And here's a little picture of what you might expect to see in the supermarket one of these days. Looks yummy, doesn't it? One of the greatest baseball players of all time was a man by the name of Roberto Clemente. And on New Year's Eve 1972, after there had been a terrible earthquake in Nicaragua, Roberto Clemente was accompanying a plane load of humanitarian aid that he had organized. And that plane went down just after takeoff. And the reason that Roberto was on that flight was because several of the plane loads of aid that he had organized were stolen by the Nicaraguan military. And Roberto realized how well known he was throughout Latin America, and there was just no way that the soldiers would be able to steal the food aid and the clothing and such if Roberto accompanied it. And here's another picture of Roberto. Oh, I thought there was. Maybe not. Here it is. So, this is called Roberto. This is for my friend Chip and my friend Lee.
Punta Maldonado off the Puerto Rican coast. People sometimes stand there and offer up a toast to the greatest baseball player they'd ever called their own, who went off on a mission and then never made it home. The earthquake was horrific. The aid was pouring in. Roberto helped to organize a whole plane load to send. The Nicaraguan junta had been looting all it could, so he'd fly with it to make sure it got to all the neighborhoods. It would not pass inspection, the plane that he would hire. The pilot that came with it, his license had expired. local huckster owned it, and he wasn't sure it flew. Well, he kept that to himself, but the paint on it was new. The plane was overloaded, cargo not secured, standard operating procedures, they were totally ignored. The engine didn't sound right, said the people on the ground, when it took off from Managua and tried to circle back around. Well, people still remember where they were that New Year's Eve when the word began to spread. Hardly anyone believed. Helicopters hovered all throughout the nights, just above the waters, sweeping with their lights. Well, they never found Roberto, and the search went on for days, frantically at first, till they found his leather case. No one could bear to call it off, so they carried on, but the divers never found him. Roberto, he was gone. Punta Maldonado, off the Puerto Rican coast, people sometimes stand there looking for the ghost of the greatest baseball player they'd ever called their own. He went off on a mission and he never made it home. Roberto. I'd like to just talk for a second about patreon.com, which you can see in the upper left corner. It's a fantastic platform where people can support their favorite artists on a monthly basis. So you pledge as much or as little as you're willing. And in exchange, you get access to things on my site that I share there that I don't share elsewhere, like rough drafts of new songs or the very first recordings or videos of new songs, backstories, all sorts of things, photos from my past. Also, I do Zoom Hangouts every now and then with all of the patrons that can make it, and it's just a nice big chat session, and I play requests. So if you're interested in signing up as my patron, or even just checking out my page and seeing what's there, there's the URL there, patreon.com/chuckbrodsky. And also, if you're watching on Facebook, if you see that little bell icon at the top of the page there, if you click on it, you'll get a couple of options. And that's how you can follow me. So anytime I go live, you'll get a quick notification, and you won't miss out. If you're watching on YouTube, well, you can subscribe to my channel, which I would really love. And as you know, all of the URLs for how to tip are at the very beginning of the comments and at the chat on YouTube. Also, all of my shows are archived on YouTube, and the set list for each show is in the comments, usually the first comment. So if you're interested in watching some of those older shows, you can see which songs I played. Or if you're trying to track down a particular song, you can do that very easily. So I'm going to switch here over to the piano. Collected my prize, I took first place. The poor runner-up, sad look on her face. Didn't drink the champagne my ribbon there too. Okay, so I won. What good did it do? Okay, so I won. What good did it do? I stood with conviction. I put up a fight for the truth as I saw it, for peace, love, and light. I fought off the darkness for the first round or two. I got my licks in. What good did it do? I got my licks in. What good did it do? In the end I was right. Upon further review, all those things I was saying proved to be true. I got an admission, an apology too. In the end I was right, but what good did it do? In the end I was right. What good did it do? Try to live by my morals. I spoke my mind. Some friends got offended. One or two they resigned. I was just being honest. They already knew. I just tried to remind them. What good did it do? I tried to remind them. What good did it do? And I could hold a grudge. I could probably hold two. And if I couldn't learn to budge, I could end up holding quite a few. Didn't like being angry. It's not enough being right. I'd rather be happy. That's a hard enough fight. Rather be happy with all of my might than to sit here and stew. What good would it do to sit here and stew? What good would it do? I'd rather be happy. Happy with you.
Many years ago, I was playing at a folk festival in Nova Scotia, and there was a fella with a developmental disability. I believe it was Down syndrome, but I'm not certain. And he was out in the middle of the audience, and he was blowing kisses at me. And when I realized that he had a disability, I started to blow kisses back to him in between songs. And this was a very special and magical thing that everybody in the audience was in on. And I knew as this was unfolding that I was going to write this song as soon as I got back to my house, which I did. And I sent the song immediately to the people that ran the festival because they were sitting in the front row when this happened. And I thought they'd appreciate it. That was always just a snapshot, this song. And it turns out that this fella was part of their small community. He was 75 years old at the time. His name was Arthur Christie. And he was very beloved. He was, in fact, the most beloved person in the entire community. And when the festival people heard the song, they decided to invite me back the following year so I could sing it from the main stage. But they didn't tell me they had secretly arranged with the home Arthur lived in, to have him brought back to the festival. So that next year I was up on the stage and I got around to singing this song. I got a couple of verses into it, and all of a sudden everybody in the audience was in a bit of a frenzy, and they were all looking off to my left. And so I turned my head to see that they had brought Arthur out onto the stage to blow kisses at the audience while I sang this song. So I had a long guitar cable, and I was able to leave the microphone and keep playing the guitar, and I wandered over to where Arthur was, and we had a little headbutt and a greeting, and then I went back to the microphone and I finished singing the song. All the while I had no idea that this was being filmed by a television crew, and on Monday morning in Halifax it was shown on the breakfast news television program on CTV. Somebody watching was nice enough to record it and send the video to me, so I was able to put it up on YouTube, and if you're interested in ever seeing it, it's really an awesome video. So this song is called The Man Who Blew Kisses. And it's for all my friends up in Canso, Nova Scotia. Or all my friends in Nova Scotia, period.
The man who blew kisses was simple and free. He never considered how people might see him. Walked on the water, swam through the air, with no trepidation, without a care. The man who blew kisses stood out in the crowd. He wasn't loud. I could not tell you how he was dressed, but of everyone there, I remember him best. The man who blew kisses, he lives in a home. He isn't allowed to go out on his own, but wherever they take him, he's happy to go. He loves everybody, and he lets them all know. Blew them at me, tickled my heart, and I buckled my knee, made my voice crack, it righted all wrongs, blew kisses back at the end of the song. The man who blew kisses in front of the stage knew nothing of jealousy and nothing of rage, prejudice and nothing of shame. He had never been broken, he had never been tamed. The man who blew kisses, he misses some things. He was catching my drift, he had air in his wings. It was a rockin', he was clapping his hands, he was stomping his feet, and he was doing a dance. The man who blew kisses eats tulips for lunch, probably rainbows, but that's just a hunch. Sunshine and pixie dust mixed in his punch, daisies for breakfast, he picks by the bunch. The man who blew kisses, he'll blow them at you. He blows them at anyone, no matter who. So I thought to myself, in the middle of all this, that the song I was singing, it was but a kiss.
There's a picture of Arthur Christie. That's one of my favorite pictures of Arthur. Here's another one. Here's the one of the two of us on stage together. And one of my greatest memories. And this is pretty awesome right there. Arthur passed away 7, 8 years ago. And they actually put the title of my song on his headstone. So I have a few more songs for you today. Once again, just want to mention that all of my weekly live streams are free if you need them to be. But if you can afford to tip, I would really appreciate that. This is my 31st weekly live stream, and in all honesty, in most weeks I get fewer than 1% of all the viewers tipping. And so I'm appealing to you to, if this is of value to you, even $5 would be great. Also, I'm available for private Zoom concerts. They can be a lot of fun. We can have a nice chat or Q&A afterwards. And if you're an educator, I'm available for several of my songs. May very well fit your curriculum. And I'm available at any time to sing to your classes. So you can contact me at chuck@chuckbrodsky.com, or if you're a Facebook person, you can contact me through my Facebook site. Well, since it has become absolutely impossible to convince anybody to change their minds about anything these days, especially when politics are involved, I thought long and hard on this. I have tried every possible approach in the middle of an argument to win my case. And I was never successful until I came up with this idea.
After 3 or 4 tries, I poked out his eyes, and that's how I got him to see. To get him to hear, I screamed in his ear. I gave him the 3rd degree. I sharply berated him and told him I hated him. I wasn't very kind. I shouted and cussed until I won his trust. Well, that's how I changed his mind. I shunned him, ignored him, I wouldn't look toward him. I only would give him my back. I accused him of lies, I would not compromise. I erased him after the fact. I was abrupt, I would often interrupt. We were volatile when combined. And then stated my case, I blew up in his face. And that's how I changed his mind. That's how I changed his mind. That's how I changed his mind. I blamed him, shamed him, insulted and inflamed him. That's how I changed his mind. Now this man was an ass. I was gonna let him pass, let him take a wide berth of me. But I was right and he was wrong, like I was telling him all along, trying to just get him to see. But he's a this and I'm a that, so we couldn't have a chat of the friendly, civilized kind. Round after round, I just ground him down. Well, that's how I changed his mind. I stomped on his toes and I punched him in the nose. I was using irony. So sure of the truth, I knocked out his tooth and I kicked him twice in the knee. I won over his heart with a poisonous dart, and he should have seen me unwind, being overly cruel and with ridicule. That's how I changed his mind. That's how I changed his mind. That's how I changed his mind. I blamed him, ashamed him, insulted and inflamed him. That's how I changed his mind. So I called him a fool, challenged him to a duel, threw my white glove in his face. 20 paces, and I shot, and I must have hit the spot. Anyway, that's how I pleaded my case. Well, I won in the end, after making him bend, and after all the papers were signed. In the end, I won, yeah, that's how it was done. Oh, that's how I changed his mind. That's how I changed his mind. That's how I changed his mind. I blamed him, ashamed him, insulted and inflamed him. That's how I changed his mind. Yeah, I blamed him, I shamed him, I might have even maimed him. That's how I changed his mind. That's how I changed his mind. That's how I changed his mind. That's how I changed his mind.
It works every time. Try it. So, this next song is about an incredible act of forgiveness. And I'd like to show you a picture here. This is a woman named Ava Core Moses, and she was a prisoner in Auschwitz. And she and her sister had medical experiments done to them. She lost her entire family at Auschwitz. This fellow in the picture with her, he was an SS guard, and he was on trial. He had 300,000 counts of accessory to murder. And this song is about what happened in the courtroom that day.
Today's a day you used to wonder if you would ever live to see. They finally brought the man to justice. What kind of justice will there be? Nobody knew a thing about him. He never talked about his past. It caught up to him at last. He changed his name in Argentina. He grew a beard and dyed his hair. Bought a farm and raised a family, and even they were unaware. It's not the face that you remember. It's not the one that you despise. Today he's frail and he's remorseful. No skull and crossbones in his eyes. Today he's in his early 90s. And just a week ago he fell. Someone for him to die in prison. wish he'd just go straight to hell. He sits and listens to the charges. He doesn't offer a defense. He does not say he followed orders. He does not claim his innocence. He looks at you and not the jury. They will decide if he should live. He is not begging them for mercy. He could not ask you to forgive. He practiced how you would confront him. You thought you came to seek revenge. You thought that he was less than human. He used to look through that same lens. But when he whispered he was sorry, the only words that he would speak, it was a justice that you came for. You let him kiss you on the cheek. Today he's in his early 90s. Just a week ago he fell. Someone for him to die in prison. Some wish he'd just go straight to hell. But when he whispered he was sorry, the only words that he would speak, it was the justice that you came for. You let him kiss you on the cheek.
Well, we've come to that part of the show that I like to call Puck View. And here's the puck of the week. That is an anti-Saddam Hussein hockey puck. It goes back a lot of years, since before the first Iraq War. Hope you've enjoyed today's show. Thank you very much for tuning in. I hope you'll join me next week for my 32nd weekly live stream on Super Bowl Sunday. And so I am going to do an entire show of songs about super things and super people and super events. Once again, if you're looking for the URLs on how to contribute today, they're all at the very, very beginning of the comments or the chat on YouTube and Facebook. So I want to sing this song for my parents and also for Betsy Burnham. Hang in there, Betsy.
Well, I hope I see you later, 'cause it's time for me to go. That's my ride that just pulled over, and it sure was good to know you. So go answer your calling. Go and fill somebody's cup. If you see an angel falling, won't you stop and help them up? We are each other's angels, and we meet when it is time. We keep each other going, and we show each other signs. Sometimes you'll stumble, sometimes you'll just lie down, sometimes you'll get all these people around. You might shiver when the wind blows, and you might get blown away. You might lose a little color, you might lose a little faith. But we are each other's angels, and we meet when it is time. We keep each other going, and we show each other signs. So thank you for the water, but I was gonna die out here in the desert, but you quenched my thirst. Let's break a little bread together, got a little manna. It was a gift from someone who was passing by and offered me a lift. We are each other's angels, and we meet when it is time. We keep each other going, and we show each other signs.
Stay safe, stay well. Hope to see you next week. Thanks for watching.